morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome at this yet another episode of Talks with Ambassadors. And please welcome Petr Bambousek. Petr, welcome in the studio.
Hello, pleasure to see you all. I don't see you, but you see me.
Exactly. We don't see you, but you see us. I hope that you see us. Please just, I will just ask kindly, one of you, please confirm that you can see us, that you can hear us, that everything's okay, because there's like no other people around us in the studio. So please let us give this confirmation. And today, I would like to welcome Petr. I've already done so, but just for you that who don't know who Petr is, Petr Bambousek is a professional wildlife photographer. And I'm very happy that he became an Olympus in those days, now OM-System ambassador. And basically, he was one of those very few people who had the chance to test the new camera, which we are going to talk about, which is OM-System OM-1 Mark II, for quite a long time. Petr, how long have you been testing OM-1 Mark II, actually? Is it
I think it started in September last year. Mm-hmm. I guess in mid-September, we started to try the camera, and so far I'm trying and I'm still happy.
So you have a lot of experience, and this is what's going to be the talk about today. But before we start, Peter, let me just show your webpage, because maybe many of the viewers who are watching you today for the first time do not know what your webpage looks like. So if you type in the sulasula.com, I'm just putting it down there so that you see it, is www.sulasula.com. This is Petr Bambousek's webpage as a professional wildlife photographer. And obviously, it's not only in Czech, don't worry. And again, I just said the word Czech because I'm from Czech Republic, Petr is from Czech Republic. So please excuse our English. We all know that it's not perfect, but hopefully you will understand everything that we say today. If not, please help us. But what I want to say is that on the top right corner, there is this tiny little button. It's not a button, it's a flag. And if you click on the English flag, and it obviously will switch the web page to the English version. So basically, if you want to learn about Petr's first experience, well, today you don't need to learn it because you will all hear it at first sight. But if you want to maybe read some more things and read and see some of his images, which he actually had a chance to take with not only OM-1 Mark II, but also with 150-600 new lens, telelens, then please visit sulasula.com. And obviously, as you can see, Petr not only has his blog part where you can see these two articles, one about the lens, as I just mentioned, one about OM-1 Mark II, which you can read about, but also one of the greatest things, Petr, you have done beside your images. Obviously, your images speak for yourself. They are amazing. But the other thing which I feel is great for you and all of us, users of Olympus and OM-System cameras, is the PDF which you have done, because the PDF for wildlife photography actually explains just about everything, not about the technicalities of the camera, but about how to use the camera and specific functions in real practice, in real wildlife photography. So this is one of the amazing things. This is this PDF. But one question I have for you, Petr. Yeah. This PDF you have created like almost 2 years ago for the first OM-1. And I assume that you are preparing a new version for OM-1 Mark II. Am I correct or am I wrong?
You are partly correct, partly wrong, because it will be just an update of the PDF. These cameras are really close together in terms of basic settings. So I don't think it's necessary to create brand new field guide. But I feel that I have to add maybe 10, 15 pages with updates regarding to new camera, and it will make sense for owners of both OM-1 and OM-1 Mark II. So even if you are not owner of OM-1 Mark II and you will buy later the updated version, you will probably see what OM-1 Mark II is able to achieve, and you can compare with your camera you have in your hands. So maybe this is very helpful for both owners of OM-1 and Mark II owners.
Okay, amazing. So basically, it will explain in more detail the things that we are going to talk about today. It's, let's say, short, concise version.
This PDF, I'm sorry, this PDF, it's not explaining the tools and features. It's explain how I work with these features, what exactly I set on my camera to get final results. So this is maybe great together, learn or hear this lecture today, and later you can set your camera based on my PDF, and you will see what exactly I have set camera.
So if we want to take pictures like you do, we'll just copy the PDF, do the same things, and we'll be Petr Bambousek, all of us.
Absolutely. No doubt with it.
Great. Perfect. And one more thing which I noticed at the very first page is that you are preparing a Pantanal wildlife photo trip this year. It's in, is it June or July?
It will start in June and finish in beginning of July. It is first time I offer my trips to foreign photographers. So far, I organized tens of trips to Pantanal, Brazil, in Ecuador, Costa Rica, and other parts of the world. So now it's first time for foreigners. They are already almost booked. There are 2 free spots to make it fill. And yes, I am really looking forward for this trip because it's amazing place of the planet. I always looking forward to return.
So if you not only want to visit Pantanal, but if you want to visit it with a professional wildlife photographer, then this is the spot where to look. But let's stop about your webpage. I think everybody knows that by now that it is the sulasula.com. So please have a look there. And why don't I switch to your presentation? Because I know you have a lot to talk about, and we are going to talk about all the, let's say, new exciting feature, which at least you find exciting on the new camera, OM-1 Mark II. And please do not hesitate to tell us also things which you think might get improved or which you think are not like 100% to your standards. But just be honest, be 100% honest with us, and please tell us just about everything that you think about the camera is good or is not good in the same time. Okay, so I'm switching to our OM-SYSTEM OM-1 Mark II field experience, as you call it.
Okay, thank you very much, Thomas. I'm sorry at the beginning. I have to say sorry because I'm struggling with my voice, cough, and cold. I get something wrong outside, so I will time to time I will mute myself and make a cough on a side out of the microphone to not disturb you. So sorry for this interruption, but I hope I have for about 1.5 liters of liquids around, so I will try to drink a lot to make your experience smooth.
I'm ready too, Peter. I'm ready.
Yeah, we have a cat.
It's a cat evening today.
Lovely tea. Okay, so let's start. I named this presentation Field Experiences with OM-1 Mark II. The reason is it's very hard to decide if the camera is good or not good, or perfect or missing something, if you are not facing a real environment. And after I received the camera, I was excited. I'm involved in a very early testing of the camera. But unfortunately, in my country, in a September or late September, October, November, it's very silent season. All the birds are gone. Most of the ponds are frozen, so no birds around. And I tried to travel around my country several times, but it was very hard to get something I can test new camera in real conditions. So I spent maybe 1 month or maybe 2 weeks with setting the camera and understanding of the new features and finding what they are good for. Because usually, if we just read the technical specification of the camera, we say, okay, this is just few innovations, nothing more. Maybe it's not necessary to try the camera or so. So I have time enough to set up the camera and look for next adventure, which was very close to the time I received the camera. It was mid-October. I went to my personal trip to Borneo. This is my very favorite place on the planet. I returned there for 12 times so far, and I trying to return all the time again, because in the Borneo it's very specific. In comparing to Central and Southern America with a lot of hummingbirds and the other stuff, the Borneo is very hard in terms of finding animals, because all the forest around is very dense, and it creates very dark environment, a lot of rains. You are a very tiny person in a very huge forest. For example, this down left is me standing down on the ground, and all the birds are in a canopy above me. It's maybe 60 meters above me. So it's very hard to get eye level contact with birds. The only opportunity for this is usually some towers in some discovery center, like here in Sepilok, where you can get even higher, maybe 30 meters above the ground. And there are still a lot of trees rising more and higher than you are actually standing. And it's still very dense, hard to look through a canopy and a lot of branches, a lot of leaves. Birds are tiny comparing to the branches which they are jumping on. So we usually use these bridges, which are elevated maybe 15, 20 meters above the ground. So you will get at least higher level of the view. So this is one of the positions. The other position is walking on the ground. It's also possible, but one have to face environment itself. You can see how dense this environment is. Whenever any bird is sitting anywhere, it's very close to the canopy. It's very hard to detect for auto detection systems of our cameras. And it's, of course, it's a rainforest, so it's raining all the time. You don't know when it starts, you don't know when it finishes, but almost every day it's raining. So these conditions are really great for testing new camera. The other part of photography in Borneo, in dense rainforest, is that you will find new friends. This is my new camera, OM-1 Mark II, with two leeches, which were attracted by heat of my hand holding the camera. And I was waiting for some bird, and they suddenly appears from nowhere. So I was just surprised what happens. And these two leeches were just searching for some blood of mine. So this is environment which I really like, but it's very hard to get some pictures. Here is a portrait of myself. I asked my guide to make a single picture of me. I don't have many pictures from background, from backstage, as you say. So here it is as I walk through the rainforest with a backpack full of lenses, flashes, two cameras attached on my shoulders, and with rubber boots, which are essential in this environment. Many animals in rainforest are trying to hide for some predators. So they are really, you have to try to find them first. And if you find them, they are sometimes hidden somewhere. So this is example of very hard to take image of beautiful violent beetle, which lives beneath this mushroom. I always love my night walks, so I try to find the snakes, spiders, insects, and the other stuff. I was very lucky with tarsier this year. I photographed him 3 times, so I have different angles and different pictures of tarsier. It was my really target species for the trip. I also find a bunch of bioluminescent fungi, so I photographed them during the night, and the light at the background is made by full moon, which was rising. So these were my night walks I really love in Borneo. But let's
Peter,
focus on.
sorry to interrupt you, but just one question, because I have I know quite a lot about your let's say expeditions, and every single time you talk about it, it seems like you never sleep because you take lots of pictures during the day. You are basically shooting all day long. And then I know you are very famous for this night photography, which you just shown us very few examples. When do you sleep on these expeditions? If never?
A week before and week after. Honestly, it's a very hard pressure from if you want to photograph day and night, you have to time have one day which you will be lazy. For example, after 3 days of night photography and day photography, early morning, wake up, late evening, laying in the bed, it's important to stay one day around the lodge, no pressure, sleep after the lunch to be ready for night walk again. And another 3-4 days, you are able to work in a full-time photographer. And these conditions are really, really hard for our Central European body, because it's very humid, it's rainy, it's muddy, all the mosquitoes around and everything. So this is environment which is not very nice for us as Central Europeans. But I love it. I love this place, and I return many times. So I will return again if it's possible.
I know you hate winter, you hate snow, which I
Yes,
love, but yeah.
yeah. So this is just the background of pictures you will see, or the pictures I will try to explain how it works, what I achieve with new camera. And I also try to record some EVF viewpoints. So you will see what happens inside the camera if we will talk about new features, which is very important to compare to your current camera, to have some imagination what happens on the new one. So you will see the pictures with snow and pictures in the rainforest. They are not definitely from the same place. I recorded many of my off-record video, backstage videos from the camera in my country, and the others will be in Borneo. You will recognize very soon. So I think the new camera has 4 main features improved for wildlife photography. I know everybody is photographing different topics. I photographing birds, wildlife, insects, lizards, snakes, at night, at daytime, anytime, anything. So I found these next four features very important for my photography. And the first one is image stabilization. You know, image stabilization in OM system or Olympus is very famous. Throughout the years, I was really addicted to the power of this image stabilization, and now it's even more powerful. This is great for 2 reasons. The first reason is if I use a long lens, I need to stabilize the viewpoint or the view from my camera to be able to focus on a bird, on a lizard, on anything. And the second advantage is that you can handheld long exposure times, which are much different from usual recommendation. So here you can see what happens in your viewfinder if you hold half press the button, shutter button, and it stops exactly. This is the shakes without a stabilization on, and this is stabilization activated. So
This is
here's the
something
result.
sorry, Peter. This is something that I strongly recommend to all of you who haven't tried a camera yet. Please just visit your local photo dealer, go to Ambassador's workshop, simply go wherever the new camera and also the new 150 to 600 millimeter lens is available or will be available soon. And please touch and try it. Take it into your hand with 150 to 600 millimeter lens, and just keep the camera as it is, as we just saw on the picture or on the video, and then half press the trigger. And all of a sudden, in that particular moment, the world stops. I mean, in the viewfinder and on the LCD, obviously. It just is so amazing stabilization. Sorry, Peter, I just had to say this because I'm still amazed, even though I know our stabilization for years and years. But I mean, it's getting better every single time. Yeah.
So I really love to play with longer exposure. You will see it later. But yes, we found this beater. We were on the boat, so we asked the driver to stop for a moment. It's hard to stop on the river, but yeah, we stopped for a while. And I try to play with different shutter speeds. So I prefer for this moment to longer shutter speed to make more visible the rain. It was not heavy rain, but it was visible on a dark background. And the beater at this moment just catch some bees. And this moment is very nice for me. And what is great for the boat, it's a zoom lenses, long zoom lenses. I use 150 to 400, but I really recommend any zoom. Maybe the new one, 150, 600 is great, because on the boat, you always constantly change your distance from the subject. So you are able to compensate if you are too close or too far with a great range of the zoom. in the past, I used to use a fixed lens, 300 millimeter, which is great, which is perfectly sharp. But on a boat, you are only in a one moment in perfect distance from the subject. Usually you are too far and you are approaching closer. In a particular moment, it's perfect, but you are going closer and you have just to keep the portrait or something like this. And you are not able to photograph the animal in the context of environment. So I highly recommend any zoom on a boat. It's a very welcome tool, especially the white one, which is sharp and perfectly compact in terms of size and weight.
You mean the white Gandalf, the 150-400?
I call it Gandalf, but I know I don't know if it's widely spread among the foreign people, because I name it for in my country. It's very known as a Gandalf, the white. I also find somebody calls it white nymph. Why not? It's a white a white one. So whatever you call it, it's the white lens, the only white lens. It's very easy to find in a production page. So this is another way how I use strong image stabilization. It's just a portrait picture, very simple picture. But as I mentioned, in a Borneo, you are still under the cover of canopy, and it's very dark. So this is, I guess, 1/60 of second handheld, and you see all the feathers, even on equivalent of 1,000 millimeter focal length. So it's crazy exposure time. This was just a challenge. I just try what happens if I will photograph in a really dark rainforest this brown bird for you on 1/15 of second. 1/15 of second handheld in the forest. So it's just my test what I am able to hold. So I recognize that 1/15 or 1/20 is the limit I can hold by myself with focal length around 1,000. So
But
it's great.
Peter, sorry, but I can imagine that it was probably a series of images. Some of them were good, some of them were not, right? Because 1/15, if the bird just moves slightly, then he would be blurred, right?
This bird was like, I didn't know what exactly happens on the branch until I found the bird through the viewfinder. It was really dark. Sorry. It was really dark. I didn't know which exactly bird is jumping there. And I really used the fast series, fast as possible, on 1/50 of second. And this is the only sharp picture. Of course, it was the series of 4 blurred bird with a sharp branch. For this particular moment, he stops, and in the next 2 images, he's just moving and then disappear again. So it was like a night ghost, I would say. So it's great. If I can recommend, try yourself. What is your lowest spot of the longest shutter speed you are able to handheld? Maybe it's 1/15, maybe it's only 50, doesn't matter, but it's great to know your limits. Unless the animal is not moving, it's perfect. If it's moving, just try and do it.
Maybe at home, try it first at some objects which don't move,
Of course.
then you can try the same outdoor with birds and other moving things.
Of course. I always train myself at home. I'm photographing my toy frogs and toy lizards, and I try everything at home, because in a forest you have to know what is your limits. You have no time to try it in the forest itself. Okay, so it was for image stabilization. It was improved. It's already 8.5 in body itself. So it's improvement over the OM-1, the first generation. And the second improve, which is from my part of view very important for wildlife and bird photography, is autofocus, which was improved as well. In the menu, we have now special place where are just the information or settings regarding to subject detection. Subject detection is very famous these days, all camera brands. So all the camera brands try to make it more precise, make it more sticky, and make it more better for us. So from now you have just the second AF menu dedicated for subject detection. So therefore, for menus, just a quick look inside. Now it was matched together with face detection. Now it's human detection. So in this menu, you will find all detections in one place. So it's very welcome for all photographers, including me, which were asking to merge both human or face detection with these subject detections. You can, if you are a wildlife photographer, you will probably use cats and dogs and birds. And it's very important to say that cats and dogs detection is not animal detection at all. It's not detecting all other animals from birds. There is no dragonfly detection, but bird detection works very well, I have to say. There is no camel detection, but maybe it will work. So you have to try which animals are working with your subject detection if they are not cats or dogs particularly.
It actually works quite well. I think everybody who has tried the OM-1 knows that even though it's like dedicated for cats and dogs, it also works with many, many other animals. Please try by yourself again. There might be some animal which it will not detect, but many of those that we meet in everyday life, if you go to safari and so on, then you will find out it will find them very easily. Yeah,
exactly. The second place where you can change your setting for subject detection is now in a OK menu or super menu. You had one important news for CAF, Thomas.
Yes, I do. Actually, on this slide, what you can see, there is this bird highlighted, and on the left side from that point, there is a CAF. Originally on OM-1, you can switch the focusing modes from obviously single AF, CAF to manual focus, but also to CAF plus tracking, which is still possible. It is still possible with OM-1 Mark II, but to me, with OM-1 Mark II, there has been one great decision done by R&D that you cannot anymore, you cannot combine CAF plus tracking together with the subject detection. Because basically, to me, CAF tracking is like the old type of version of tracking some kind of object, basically any kind of object. But then after that, obviously, it has been evolving, and with artificial intelligence, we have introduced with OM-1X camera, we have introduced the subject detection, which is based on totally different algorithms, where you have the birds and dogs and trains and all the other things basically implemented into the algorithm already. So the camera already knows what the shape is going to be of the camera, of the lens. Of the bird, of the cat, of the car, and so on. So it's a totally different system of actually finding the subject. So basically, with OM-1, you could still use CAF plus tracking together with the newer, much better method, which was subject detection. And this, I think, was not good, because if you turn on both, it just didn't work properly. So you should either use the subject detection or CAF tracking. Now with OM-1 Mark II, finally, you cannot set these two together. So you can set either subject detection or CAF tracking, not both together. Yeah. Maybe I was too long. Sorry for the explanation, but this is how it works.
It's a good point, because I noticed in many reviews of OM-1 first generation that a lot of reviewers said both the CAF and tracking and subject detection, and I never use it because I try it and I found it unusable. It was just failing all the time. So I turn it off and I just use CAF and subject detection for full happiness for myself. And I was really impressed how many people which are reviewing the camera still set CAF and tracking and subject detection. So now it's not possible, and I'm really happy that they will take it off from this subject detection mode. Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So I have to return here, and how does it work? So now you will see how subject detection and eye detection works on OM-1 Mark II. It's a little bit different from the previous generation, because in the previous generation you see the whole body as well as head as well as eye of the bird, but now you see only the head and eye, but in the background the body is detected as well. So you will just not see the bigger square around the bird, and you see all just the small eye and head detections, but the bird is detected as a whole body as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a subject detection menu. There is a CAF setting, how it will be behave whenever the subject detection is activated for both video and still photography. I use the still photography, so I will go here. And here is a great tool, which maybe is instead of CAF and tracking, because it helps you to decide what you will prefer. If the subject will be focused within your AF point, different size, it all depends on you. It should be followed by camera, even if the bird or subject leave the AF point, or it has to be kept just in a AF point area.
Yeah.
So we have these two options in a new camera, and you can decide which is great for you, which is better. I found the way that the detection follow the bird or something, even if it goes out of the focusing area, much better. So I use it all the time, and only a few times I turn it off, but it was very challenging environment at all. And here is a small video, how does it work exactly. So in the middle, you see my target AF point, and the bird is focused inside. But if I move the camera, or if the bird is moving outside, it is still keeping the focus on its head, body, eye, or whatever it finds more visible. So now you are not fixed to focus just for your AF area, which you choose before, and you can keep the camera. Let the camera keep the birds in focus. So this is how it works if you make all.
Which I feel is very amazing, because you can now concentrate more on the composition where the bird is going to be, and not on the location of the AF point. Because if this was AF point in the original camera and the bird was flying on the other side, like here somewhere, then obviously it wouldn't focus on the bird, right? It would have to, the focusing point would have to be moved to touch actually the, let's say, detection area of the bird, and then it would focus. Now it can just move anywhere, which is perfect. I find it amazing.
There's a third option where you can set, if you maybe you are using the shutter button for focusing as well as AF on button on the back part of the camera. I use simply AF on, the back button on camera. I don't use the shutter button, but here in this menu you can split the behavior, and you can set what is the priority of each button. So if you set, for example, your shutter button to subject priority focusing, or AF on button for AF area priority, so you can just simply touch each other and focus in a different way. So if subject detection is not working, you simply hold AF on instead of shutter button, and switch the system of focusing. So it's very fast for changing the focus system. And the last one is setting if the eye detection frame should be visible or not. It's still the same in OM-1. So here you will see how the eye detection is working. And now when it stops, it's exactly the moment when I half press the shutter button. So you will again see how image stabilization is strong and helpful for making bird pictures. So here it is how it works if the eye detection is on and visible. There is another new option for autofocus with subject detection, and this setting is not inside the menu, it's inside the setting of your buttons. So if you approach the button place, you can assign your button for subject detection tool, which is this icon. But there is another one. If you open the options of the buttons, you will see there is another similar button, similar icon, but it means something different. In this new one, you can select out of, I guess, 8 birds or 8 subjects, actually, which one will be your primer one. So how does it work? You have to find another button. I will find, for example, the front button, front upper button, and assign this setting. And this is how it works. I'm sorry. you can see that bird detection is working on all the birds they can detect. So you'll see small squares around all the birds. If you will find your preferred bird, you can hold your button and turn dial to find the one. And the one is marked by the corners. It's a little bit different. And then you release the button and it will be locked. When it's locked, you see it here on the right side with the green letters, so you know that it's locked to the particular bird. And you know from the flock of the birds, you are focusing in just one. As you can see now, it's the third one, and now it's turned off.
Yeah.
I found the right one, lock, and it's locked on the bird when I choose. So if I shake the camera or a bird is moving, it should be focusing on him.
So basically, what was previously possible only with face detection, that if the camera detected a couple of faces of human beings, obviously, you could still, or you were able on OM-1, you were able to choose one of the faces. Obviously, we didn't call it lock, AF lock, but it was possible to choose one of them. So now it's possible with all subjects, whether it's birds, animals, mammals, whatever.
It is great tool, especially if you are in a height and you have more birds in a frame. So it's great to find the one which you will focus on. It works best on still birds. It's not possible. It's not very helpful if the birds are moving to each other. They are crossing each other. For example, if you will see flock of 8 ducks on the river or on the water surface, which are still crossing themselves, you will find that the detection is not so precise in this way of working. So it's very hard to find one bird out of 8 birds crossing each other. But if you have flock sitting birds, you have to choose the right one. For example, the bee eaters are often sitting to each other. So you can lock the bird, which is your preferred, and move slightly and keep the bird still focused. So this is the example where it works perfectly.
Yeah. It's like wanting the camera to actually focus on flying bees. Imagine there is like 100 flying bees next to each other, and you would want to choose one of them and keep the camera focusing on it. Yeah, maybe in the future, maybe in some, I don't know, within 10, 20 years, maybe earlier, I don't know, because obviously everything evolves, right? Even the subject detection evolves all the time. We can see it on this second generation, which is much better than it was previous. But I mean, yeah, we cannot want like everything from the camera right now. Yeah.
But it's all about the expectation. Everything is about expectation. If you are expect that your camera will do everything instead of you, it's very hard to get some great results, because I face it myself, because I learned to find some solutions. If there's a situation in front of me, I first of all start with the subject detection. But if it fails, I just take it off and find another solution: smaller AF point, AF limiter, slower shutter speed, or something which can help the camera to focus. I'm not really addicted on subject detection. If it fails, I say, "Oh my God, the camera fails me." No. It's the camera. You see, for example, you see the ducks here, but the camera doesn't see ducks. It have to learn what ducks really is. What is difference between duck and the stone in the background? What's the different shape? And so it should learn. So we are learning from the childhood. The camera is learning just a few years. So it's everything about expectation. I'm never fully addicted to subject detection, but I start with it all the time. If it fails, I find another way, but it works most of the time very great. So here's
Peter,
just
sorry to interrupt you, but just when you are talking about this, I just have this idea. Maybe sometime in the future, it will not only detect the bird, but it will also write a name of the bird. Why not?
Actually, it already happens in a field. I'm sorry, I don't know. Binocular. Sorry, in a binocular.
Yeah. I know.
There's a binocular which has detection of the bird, and after some googling, it will show you the name. I would prefer different improvements in my camera, but after everything will be great and perfect and no mistakes, why not? We can identify the birds, bees, anything from your camera. I mean,
Yeah, I was just
okay.
kidding, of course.
Yeah, sure, sure. So here's just an example of another small improvement I noticed in a new camera, and this is focusing in a dense canopy, or if you are focusing through the leaves. This picture was taken through the leaves to big tree where a huge rhinoceros hornbill were sitting. It's a beautiful one, and you can see the dark corners, which is made by the leaves in the front of the camera.
Amazing.
So this is one example. This is the second example. It was much harder because we found from the tower I show in the beginning of my lecture. So from the tower we saw an eagle, a hawk actually, catching small squirrel, and he was jumping on the nest up and down and making some weird body shapes and so on. And I photograph it through the leaf as well. So you can notice all the leaves in the front of the camera, but still you can see that it's very sharp. And from the whole series, I have, of course, some unsharp pictures, but most of them are precisely sharp. So it holds the eagle through the leaves and only missed maybe 5 times from, I don't know, 50 shots I took during the session.
Yeah.
So
Which
this
to
is
me
another
is
example.
one of the greatest, let's say, advancements to the original OM-1. That not only it perfectly, let's say, detects the bird, but also focuses on the bird, even though in this type of difficult, let's say, environment when there is like branches, leaves, as we can see in front of the bird. So I think this is definitely a great improvement, which I see.
It is great. Again, try it by yourself. It's not working all the time, but again, as I mentioned, I always try to find solution. So if it's not catching the bird right, I simply move the manual focus ring on my lens and go as close as possible to the bird. And after that, if you press the button, focusing button again, and it will detect the eye, it keeps much stronger and much more sticky than before. So this is, if it doesn't work in the first time, simply turn your manual focus ring, make it closer to the bird, focus again, and then it will keep the bird focused much more longer, much more precisely. So it was second tool or feature I really like for wildlife photography. The third one is blackout-free mode. It was introduced in OM-1 first generation, and I like it very much. Blackout-free mode means that you are photographing with no blackouts between every single picture in series, and I'm photographing in series most of the time. So there are two improvements I really like. At this moment, in this SH2 mode, you are not limited just for 50 or 25 frames per second, but now you can slow down the series with 16 frames per second or 12 frames per second. It's very fun because now we call it slow of series, but imagine 8 years ago, the most pricey cameras have 10 or 11, and it was, wow, 11 frames per second, you will never miss anything. And now we call it, yeah, just a slow one. So it's very fun to compare it to history of our cameras.
Yeah, and we have to say one thing, that the 50 frames per second, I'm the fast one, is in continuous autofocusing. So the camera actually refocuses from one image to another. But obviously the camera is still capable of 120 frames per second if the focus is fixed, right? So yeah.
And it's also, it is, all the modes are in a raw, in a full raw with no crops. It's a full images.
Yeah.
So this is very welcome improvement. And the second improvement I really like is that the slowest time in the past was 1/320. This mode is mostly dedicated for action. So usually if you photograph action, you will like this mode because you will photograph 1,000 of second or so. But I was missing this mode for more still pictures, because if you experience what happens when the viewfinder is not blinking every time after every single picture, and it's just still, so you would like to use it for the other topics than just action. So now the improvements is that it's slowed down by 1 EV. So now we can photograph 1/60 second. It's much better. I would love to be even 1 second. I don't care. Slower time, better time for me, because as I mentioned, I can handheld 1/15 of second with my long lens. Sorry. So if this will be continue next generation, it will be 80. I will prefer to be this, because in combination with slower series frames per second and the slower time, you can photograph very comfortably even still images. You don't need to change to blinking series. You can photograph the still images with all the comfort of non-blinking viewfinder. An example, this is very sharp again. So these motifs are the motifs I photographed with SH2 mode in a slower frames per second, because there's no great action, but the comfort is beautiful, and I use this setting as my default. And after this setting, it was impossible to use. After I need to use the slower shutter speed, I switch to the other mode. So this is very welcome improvements from my part. I would push it down to 140, let's say.
And one more, sorry, Peter, just one more, maybe we'll talk about it. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry, maybe if I do tell something that you want to say. But with the slower speeds now, so from 50 to 25, which was with OM-1 already, but then to 16 and 12 frames per second, if you combine it with Pro Capture, then basically now you are capable of shooting something like 8 seconds in the past, or 7.5 to 8 seconds in the past, while previously it was, what, 2.5 seconds?
Yeah. I don't have this information included in this lecture, but it's true. If you slow down your Pro Capture to 10 frames per second, or I think it's frame pace per second, now you can set also 99 frames before you fully press the shutter button in a Pro Capture mode. So if you half press your shutter button, it will start to make your pictures 99 pictures in the past. So it's almost 10 seconds in the past. It's very hard to say why do you need to use Pro Capture for 10 frames per second, but it's possible. So we were just joking. If you are sitting in a height and it's too long and you sleep and you have a friend which wake you up, so you are still able 10 seconds almost in the past photograph the animal. The animal is almost gone. Maybe it's 2 seconds gone, and you are still able to photograph, unless you are able to half press your shutter button, which is necessary for this feature. So yes, we were talking to each other that it would be great to have some automatic system which will hold your camera automatically. You can sleep the whole night, and the camera will just hold shutter button in a half way, and once something will be detected, it will take a picture. I don't know. Maybe it's possible. I'm just dreaming.
So it would become what we call camera traps.
Yeah, it will be great camera trap actually. If there will be some detection which can recognize the bird or animal, if it will be working during the Pro Capture mode, so you can take a nap, and after you can check your pictures you took during sleep. So it's also.
But please, guys, don't take this as this is R&D working on it. No, it's just me and Peter talking.
Yeah.
It would be nice, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because at the end of my lecture, I will show you what exactly your camera already is able to photograph, and it's incredible range of tools. So now we are just dreaming what next can become on our cameras. Yeah. Just kidding. Good. So this was the third improvement I like in new camera, and the fourth one for wildlife photography is new buffer, which was more than doubled from previous time. So at this moment, you are almost not limited with the buffer if you are photographing some action scene. And you can count how long action scene you want to photograph. You can set precisely shutter speed and the length of your action you will take, and you can get almost endless buffer. This is example of photography of flying eagles, hunting eagles from Borneo, and I have hundreds of these pictures in a long series, and it always takes a few seconds from catching the fish and flying away, but the other eagle approached, and I never faced to have my buffer filled up, which happens sometimes in these situations if they repeat it very often with OM-1. So this improvement is very helpful. Here is my counting. So if you set your camera to SH2 no blackout during your photography, and set your 50 frames per second, which is by the way only available on particular lenses. It's not widely supported on all lenses, but all pro lenses, most of pro lenses, long lenses are supporting this. But if you set this, the buffer has 200, almost 40 images, which means 5 seconds in a row of photographing some action. So if you need all possible wing beats of the bird, this is the option, and you can photograph the bird for 5 seconds in a row. If you slow down your frames per second series to 25, you will get 11 11 seconds of the action. And if you slow it down again, you can get up to 36 seconds of action. I almost never faced this action, but I will show you just one funny part from Borneo of the proboscis monkey, and this was very close to this length of the action. So if you count a little bit, or you know what happens, you can slow down your frames per second speed, and you will enjoy 144 pictures in a row. But usually we don't photograph in such a row, so we need maybe 5-10 seconds of action, and still there is a buffer enough. You can photograph next action while the other are saved on your camera. So this is very important if you are photographing birds in flight, actions, hummingbirds, which I would like to photograph next month. So this is perfect tool for us as bird photographers. So the
Just
first
one recommendation maybe, and that is always for this type of shooting, always use the very fast cards. Yeah,
of
because
course,
obviously
300 megabytes per second.
300
Yeah,
megabytes.
it's very important, because faster your card is, the faster will be empty your buffer. That's very important. So if you are photographing with a huge buffer in a long series, you probably want one particular wing beat or shape of the head or something. So usually I photograph in series, find my wing shape, and delete everything around, because very fast you will have a filled card by many unimportant images. So always say what exactly would you like to photograph with this fast series, and if you find it among your pictures, just delete the others, because it doesn't make sense to keep everything. And the other way how you can use it is, if you really know what you would like to achieve on your picture. For example, here hornbill eating the bubbles, or not bubbles, sorry, fruits from the tree. So you expecting that you will have the fruit in between of the beak. This is the way how to achieve it. So just photograph in a short series once the bird is eating. And here is unedited, uncropped series of struggling baby of proboscis monkey from Borneo. And you can see this series was taken with advantage of huge buffer, because it's not just a 1 second bird feeding or something. It happens for a few minutes. So this is just a part of my whole series, but you can see this is not a video. These are all the raw pictures, one by one, taken in a faster series for longer time. So it's incredible if you are photographing this action.
Amazing.
So from my point of view, these 4 improvements are really very important for wildlife and bird photography. And if you combine them together, not just saying, okay, stabilization is better, fine. Autofocus is more precise, fine. SH2 blackout-free mode is available with slower exposure times, okay. The buffer is double. If this match all together, it will bring you brand new experience from photography, much more comfort in terms of blackout-free photography, much stable lens for focusing on your bird, which focus more precise, which higher buffer in different ways of series. So this is exactly the high point of this camera from my part.
So it's basically all these, let's say, I don't want to say small improvements, but yeah, let's say, but if you put them together, then it does make sense for you as a wildlife or bird photographer as a great improvement.
Exactly. This is what I found during my testing in my home, because when you are at home or you are just reading simply the improvements, you are not able to understand what brings in a real life until you will start to use it together. And if you will use it for a time, as happens to me, it is very hard to return to OM-1 first generation, because I love my OM-1. It was my very favorite camera all the times. But after 3 months of testing this new camera, I hold OM-1 back and photograph something. I said, oh, I cannot use SH2 anymore in a slower times. Okay. Buffer is filled up much easier. I said, okay. So after this knowledge, and after you will see the focus, especially for birds, was improved in a great step. So you will find the new camera helpful in a field, but it doesn't mean that you will have different pictures. So this is not about the approach of photography. This is about the technical skills of your camera, and you can be certain in a photograph your target. So it's this improvements is what you have to expect from your camera for this for features.
So basically, it is true, and it was one of the questions. Obviously, we'll get to the questions later on, so please stay tuned. But it is about the fact that, obviously, as you just said, the image quality stays the same because the sensor is the same. It's the great 20 megapixels stacked sensor, which we have used for the very first time in OM-1, which is only 2 years ago. And it's about the processor, which is Chupic 10. Again, one of the greatest artificial intelligence, basically, sensors. So basically, these two things together, obviously with a great lens, and then with the features, make the pictures, right? But so the quality of the image stays the same, but it's about, let's say, getting more chances to get the right image with the new features.
Of course, that's right said. You have more chances, maybe more sharp pictures to choose from your final picture, which you are looking for, and much improved comfort of photographing your target bird or target animal. So this is about improvement of comfort from these 4 features together matched.
Yeah, and you will have more pictures to choose from. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the good ones. Good.
So this is first part of my lecture. I don't know if there are some questions we can go through, because I have just few.
There are quite many, but let me just go through some of them quickly. First of all, many greetings to you at the very beginning. So thank you all, guys, that you are watching from all around the world. Let me just find some questions very quickly. From just ordered Mark II plus macro. Amazing. Let's find some questions. Anthony has one interesting question. It's possible to change to sensor with 24 megapixels. Obviously, physically, you cannot change the sensor in the camera. It's totally not possible. But just we have actually come to this type of question for quite a long time. I mean, since we introduced the OM-1 Mark II, why haven't we used the 24 megapixels? Honestly, the 24 megapixel, which is on the market, is not the stacked sensor type. So the image quality of this type of sensor, which is already existing on the market, is definitely not the quality of this, let's say, leveled, or we call it stacked sensor, which we are using in the camera. I know that you said in one of your talks that any type of slightly high resolution wouldn't hurt, but for the right moment, I think your images, which you have taken with the 20 megapixel sensor, actually speak for themselves. You have won, or your images have won many, let's say, awards in different types of, let's say, competitions worldwide. So, what do you think about it?
Yes, I will always welcome higher amount of megapixels as everybody, because we love megapixels. In the past, when I used the full frame, I used 15 megapixel camera, but I noticed that a lot of people is wishing higher amount of megapixels for ability to cropping the pictures. And
Yeah.
I never crop my images too much. I always try to uh, focus on a composition to be final composition, maybe of course some small crop, but not to crop out the bird out of 20 megapixels and get the final 15 megapixel or something. But I will always welcome if it will improve anyway the quality of the picture. But there is a big but. I mean but, which is for me this: if this will mean that my camera will slow down in terms of focusing speed, focusing buffer saving, buffer emptying, frames per second, anything like this, which I really like on my camera, I don't prefer it. I don't need especially higher amount of megapixels in a cost of getting my camera slower. And maybe it can be fixed by different card system, which will be much more improved in terms of saving speeds or so. But it also means the camera will be heated a little bit more, so there should be some cooling and this and that. If this camera will work like it works, and it will be 30 megapixels, I'm in. But I'm afraid it's not possible at this moment to have everything, and even cheaper, I guess. I read a lot of forums and topics in talks, and people wish to have more features, but even cheaper. So it's it's very fun. It's getting to each other. So you have to choose one or a second. But yes, I'm in, unless it will slow down my camera, because I love my camera and speed and system it can achieve my pictures. Yeah.
But Peter, as you know, I mean, even myself, I mean, I think everyone would want to have like the best Bentley or best Rolls Royce for the price of Skoda car or something like that. Right. But let me just put another question. Brian is kind of worried that the 150 to 600 millimeter lens will not be is not actually weather sealed. Brian, it is weather sealed. It's IPX1, same as EM1X camera. So it is very much weather sealed. You can use it in those conditions as Peter is shooting somewhere in the tropical forest, for example.
Yeah, I would say it's not waterproof equipment in terms that you can photograph underwater unlimited time in a huge rain shower. But for a normal, because as well you are staying there as well and you are getting wet as well, not just your camera, not just your lens. So far I believe to all my equipment from OM System, because it happens so many times that I get randomly catched by some storm, and it survived all the time. It survived. But it's very important to have option or opportunity to dry out the camera after the rain, after you photograph. Go to your room and make your camera clean and dry for a while, and it will work as ever. But of course, if you will walk for 2 weeks in a rain and hold the camera exposed to the rain, it's possible that something maybe happens. But if you are just staying there for 1 hour or 2 hours, then you are able to dry out the camera. Nothing happens at all. I have a lot of experiences with this. I also showered my 150 400 in Galapagos because it was covered by snow by sand. from the beach, and there was no other option how to remove it from my camera as well as lens. So I simply shower it out in a bathroom, and it survived perfectly. It works so far. So, and it's 2 years after, and it works perfectly. So I would be really certain that this lens will survive some ordinary normal shower. It should be okay.
I was just waiting for you to say it because if you didn't say that you shower the equipment, I would do, because Peter is very famous for showering his photo equipment, you know, guys. But don't, as there's this saying, don't try this at home. But it is really weatherproof, very much weatherproof.
So I have to say it right, Thomas. I'm not showering my equipment all the time. It's not my obsession with showering my equipment. I did it just once or two times, maybe twice, because it was necessary. There was no other option, and it survived. So sure, it's not from my part saying, okay, shower yourself with your camera, it will survive, just make it. No. It was just a special situation.
Yeah. But it withstands basically any rain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Linda has not a question. It's a very great finding, actually. Linda says, I found bird detection works for surfers, which is amazing. I didn't know that. It's really nice finding.
Wow.
Okay, let's see. What is the other questions? Checking never really were exact explanation. Even would like to see Anthony. Yeah, Anthony would like to see some other, let's say, new products. Which obviously, who wouldn't, Anthony? I totally agree. I would like to see many other new features, new products, everything. But it all evolves, and it all, you know. There's a saying, if you ask some company that produces things, you know, we are producing cameras, we are producing lenses. If you ask someone from the company, is there a new camera or is there a new lens in the pipeline? Obviously, there always is something in the pipeline. It just takes time to make all the development, and it doesn't take like 1 week, 1 month. It takes a couple of months, maybe even years, from the very first idea to the time when it actually hits the market. So basically, yes, Anthony, there is lenses in the pipeline. There are also, I'm sure that there are cameras, even though I don't know about them, but I'm sure there must be cameras which are also in either development or in the pipeline, future one. And we just have something to look for, which is great. It always works like this with car manufacturers, with lens manufacturers, with photo producers, with everyone that produces something. Okay, let me see other questions. Okay, does CAF tracking still work if subject detection is off? No, well, yes, it does. It does. This is what I explained at the beginning. So if you switch off the subject detection, then you can turn on the CAF tracking and use it for any type of, let's say, other subjects which are not included in the subject detection, because there is no use to use or there is no need to use CAF tracking for the subjects like birds, trains, planes, and all those who are included, which are included in the subject detection, because this works much better than CAF tracking. So if you want to track some other subjects, I don't know which ones, whatever,
Falling
then
leaves?
obviously, sorry?
Falling leaves?
Yeah, falling leaves, for example, possible, yeah, or other things, obviously. Okay, there is a nice saying from Anthony. By the way, very nice photographs. So it's a compliment to you, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Rob is asking, I'm not a pro. Just for vacation and limited budget, only want one zoom, so one zoom lens, and trying to decide if I should get 41-52.8 Pro plus the MC20 converter, or just get 100 to 400 millimeter lens. Which one would you recommend?
Yeah, this is very often the question from photographers. I understand it's very complicated to say what's the best way. The best way is look at your pictures in a Lightroom. It has filters, and you will see how exactly you are photographing your photographs. and you will see for example, on 40 150, if you use the lens, you will see if you use this lens at the end of the range or in the middle or in the beginning of the range, and how often. My experience is, if you wish to use extender as a fixed part of your lens, there is something wrong with your choose, because you have to use your extender time to time. It's perfect. It's a great addition to your lens. But if you want to add this extender on your lens permanently or for most of the time, I would recommend, probably you need to use the longer focal length. I would prefer to buy the longer zoom range, not to use extender as a basic setup of your lens, because it works great. I don't know if it's two times. If we have a choose. We can choose from 1.4 and 2 times. Both are great on what they are. But if you are comparing 2 times and 1.4 extenders, I would always prefer 1.4, because it didn't lack so much light. It works better with focus. It will be keep your aperture lower, so your exposure times will be faster, and so on and so on. And after you will face the bad conditions, you will find that the extender two times, it is again less precise in focusing, and so on. So I would not recommend to use 2 times extender as a fixed part of your lens. Simply buy 1/400 from my part. But
so if you need
not
to
responsible
extend,
for your choice.
yeah, right. So if you need to extend the focal length from time to time, then the extender is perfect, but
Absolutely.
not use it permanently. Okay.
Of course.
Okay. So
That's it.
in
My
that case,
experience
then
is this way. And I also noticed that people are asking if the wide lens 150-400 is working with both extenders. It works. If a new lens 150-600 is working with extenders, it works. But from my point of view, if you need extender, even if you have reach of 1200 millimeters and you are wishing to have more, so maybe it's time to think about how to get closer to your animals. Because if you need your focal length to be around 2000 millimeter, there is something wrong in your behavior in nature. Of course, time to time, it's excellent option. It's perfect to have this option, but it should not be the reason if you buy or not buy the lens. Only if it supports 2400 millimeter equivalent, because if you never hold it, and I don't believe anybody hold the camera with 2400 millimeter focal length, it's quite a different world. Everything is moving, everything is too far. There is some heat. I don't know the English name for this, but the heat changed. It changed the focusing plane time to time, so you cannot get sharp pictures from low level photography and so on. And there's a lot of reasons why I would not recommend to have the teleconverter as basic equipment. It's just great addition, not a basic.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Well, let's just look at some other ones. This is not a question, but I like this one, Tony. Thanks a lot. Not really noticed any problems with 1.4. Because about this, actually, the questions which I asked you previously, there is a very long discussion. So people are answering to each other, which is great. Thank you so much for this, for all the recommendations that you gave, guys. But he says, what was it? What I do these days is pose slightly to the right of histogram and try to fill the frame as much as possible, which is exactly what you just said, right? Instead of cropping, instead of making a big crop, then try to, let's say, make the composition as proper as you want to see the final image look like.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is great. And also from Tony, by the way, I have only just come to OM-1 or OM a few weeks ago from Sony A9. And super impressed with OM-1 Mark II. Perfect, Sony.
Wow, it's great to hear.
Great to hear, Tony. Thanks. I said thank you, Sony, because I read this, Sony. But I was about to say thank you, Tony.
Okay.
But yeah.
Sorry for Tony.
Yeah. There is another question, which is right for you, Peter. How would you track a flying bird if you use bird detection?
Yeah. So there is a setting. My preferred setting is for birds in flight. It's a bigger focusing point. I set my own focusing points, which are bigger than usually preset in the camera. You are able to set up to 4 personal size of autofocus point. So I use the bigger, not the whole frame, but let's say 60% in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I also use at the beginning. I use at this moment SH2 with blackout-free with 16 or 25 frames per second.
Mm-hmm.
I use bird detection, of course. I use CAF, and I use stabilization to mode 2 because it allows you to move your camera from side to side. If you will stay with stabilization in mode 1, it will try to compensate your movements to the side, and you will get just the blur pictures. I also need the shutter speed higher, let's say 1000 and higher or faster.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have, for birds in flight, I also have the button, the front upper button assigned to a limiter. So if I know that I will photograph from the cliffs, and I know it will be somewhere between 10 to 100 meters, so I set some distance for the camera. So this all together is great start for your birds in flight. And there are many reasons why the pictures can be blurred. It can be done by slower shutter speed, just speed it up for 2000 or something. It can be done that you are too slow or too quick. If you follow the bird, it can cause the blurriness as well. And it, of course, it can happen that the camera will not focus precisely on eye. Everything depends on the flight speed as well as the wings beats. Because sometimes, for example, eagles or herons or egrets are flying very slow, but the wings are going up and down very slowly, and sometimes they can cover the eye for longer moment than in a let's say smaller bird, waxwing or something. So it all depends on the bird you photograph, but you can experiment with this setting. I have these settings described and all the other described in the PDF Thomas mentioned in the beginning. So I have there some variation how to fix the blurriness and set the right setting for birds in flight.
Yeah, this is actually quite amazing, guys, because I was expecting Peter to have a very short answer to this question. How would you track a flying bird if you use bird detection? And I was expecting Peter to say, well, you just turn on the bird detection and the camera will do it for you. But this is exactly the difference between a practical professional wildlife and bird photographer, which is Peter, and me as a technical expert, because I know that the camera is perfectly capable to find and track the bird automatically. But then also there's so many other, let's say, tiny subjects and topics which you need to take into consideration. And then obviously you need to set them up somehow in the camera, as Peter just described. So it's not just one thing that you need to set up, it's a couple of things. And the great thing is that the camera allows you to do everything.
Yeah, it's based on many trials. It's not just that I imagine what would be great, but I try it. And if you try it 100 times, 1,000 times, you are struggling with something. So I found a way how to make it as best as possible as I can. And it's again, it's a bird in a movement, so it's much harder than sitting bird on a branch. So again, my expectation from the series is not that I will have 100% of sharp pictures or something else is wrong. No. I just expect I will have a lot of pictures to choose from to find the sharpest one, but I don't expect I have a whole series of 100 pictures precisely focused on eye on fast flying bird. This is expectation which is hard to achieve.
Peter, just maybe a last question for now, because there's quite a couple of
Yeah.
them, but let's leave them for later. And I will take this one if you don't mind. Just is asking, I got EM1, EM10 Mark III. Is that good? It is a great camera, although it's not dedicated for birds in flight, for example. But you would be able to use it as a great travel camera for like an all-arounder. If you go on a holiday everywhere, if you go to the mountains, if you take like macro photography, for example, also a great camera. If you want to take pictures of basically anything except of fast-moving subjects. EM10 Mark III is simply not dedicated to fast-moving subjects, whether it's sports, whether it's flying birds, whether it's moving whatever dragonflies, and so on. So this is not what the camera is dedicated for. But if you shoot, let's say, still images, if you shoot, for example, landscape photography, amazing camera, and it's tiny, it's lightweight. I personally use it when I go skiing because it's so small and lightweight with a tiny pancake lens that I still put it into my pocket of my skiing vest, so I really love this camera as well.
Yeah, it's a nice question. Is it good? It's very hard to say. It's because I don't know. Is my drinking cup good? It is for me. I don't know if it's for you. Maybe for somebody it's too red or somebody too white or too big. It's very hard to say if something is good. It's good for something all the time, and it depends on the person who is photographing with, and it's a very important part of whole photography, bunch of features, the person itself.
It depends on what you use it for, basically. That's
of course,
as simple
of course.
as
Yeah.
Okay, Peter, let's forget about some other questions. Let's leave them for later. And if you don't mind, we can continue with your slides.
Yeah, it will be very it's going to the finish. So I just would like to mention some improvements I really like, which are not changing your photography style, but it will increase your comfort in a field as well. The first one is the rubber buttons. Now the buttons are rubbery. So if you before were facing or struggling the situation where you have wet hands, for me it was very common because I'm photographing in tropics, there is a rain, so I always have some kind of wet hands. So now it's fixed, because after the Borneo nothing happens with the rollers. They all are working great, and they are easy to manipulate even in the rain, even in a cloth. I try it, and it's much easier than in OM-1. So if you had a problem with this in the past, this is solved from my point of view. And the second
it's not, sorry, just to make it clear, it's not buttons, it's the front and back dial. It's those
the
rollers.
dials, the wheels. The other improvement is that now you can assign button of trash or delete button to activate the menu. So now every button is on the right side, and you can see your main menu even if in a viewfinder. So even if you are looking for something or you are waiting for a particular moment, you don't need to change your hands because it can make the animal disappear. So you can hold your camera, hold or press the trash button and view the main menu in your viewfinder. So you are very comfortable with waiting somewhere with no movements at all. So it's very nice touch. If you open the menu, you will see that there is something new in the camera. And if you were studying some reviews or something, you probably 100% face it. It's a new live GND filter, graduation neutral density filter, which can help to balance your light, the more light or light of the scene, up to 3 EV from one direction. So how does it work? I will show you something. This is from very cloudy day on a frozen pond. It's a very famous place for landscape photographers in my country. I was there just accidentally, so it wasn't nice weather, but this was the conditions. This what I saw on the sky, but what I saw on the ground was white ice. So these two pictures together would make the final view of what I saw when I stand there with my camera. If you use the harder GND on this scene, you will get something like this. If you push the EV to -3 from the upper part, so from your camera you will get a raw file which combines both of exposures, and you can direct the GND filter. I think it's a great tool for landscape photographers. You always can take these two pictures and make it in your software in computer, but now you have this tool in your camera, and it's very fast. I exactly don't know how it works in terms how many pictures are taken, but based on my experience, it takes about 3 seconds to merge all the pictures, or both, or 3 or 4, to get the final picture. So it's much faster than high-res, for example, or this kind of shooting. And here it is. I will just a little bit. Here it is how it looks like. You just assign your button to GND. You can change the hardness and softness of your GND filter with one wheel. You can adjust the level of your GND. And here you see what happens if you cover the sun. So it really helps to compensate the direct light with the other part of the scene. So this is great tool. If you are a landscape photographer, you will love it, I guess.
Mhm.
Another tool is the same as it was before, is live ND shooting, no GND. If you ever look at my pictures, you have to face that I love long exposure, especially in combination with the animals. So here is a normal scene with long exposure. I use my live ND all the time for all these creeks in the forest and so on. For waterfalls, it's amazing to photograph with no need the additional filter. I also use it for the animals. So here is a tiger heron waiting for some fish in a fast running creek. And this is with the OM-1, so previous generation, ISO 80 and 3 seconds in a midday. So it's perfect. This is from Galapagos. Again, it was a sunrise, very hard to achieve longer exposure. And now I achieve 2.5 seconds in a sunrise. It's perfect. So now it's even improved from 64 or 6 EV compensation to 128 7 EV compensation, and I can't wait when I will have opportunity to use it again, because I love this feature on my OM-1, and now it's even stronger. So I really love this feature on my previous camera. Well, these are the most important improvements from my point of view as a wildlife and bird photographer and macro party photographer. Here it's
sorry, Peter, that I'm laughing, but this is really something that reminds me many of the tests and reviews of let's say non-photographer testers. So the testers who are just testing one camera after another, and just putting specs into the sheet. Yeah, I mean, it looks terrible. Sorry to say that.
It's okay. So I'm just having this slide for you, because this is how you can find specification of the new camera. And we usually read the specification, okay, 20 megapixel sensor, okay, 120 frames per second, okay, high-res shot, okay, live ND, okay, stabilization, everything, nothing special. But for my part, I'm working with these cameras, OM-1 and OM-1 Mark II at this moment for a while. And I see a particular images behind all the features, and I am the person who use all the features from the camera all the time. So I love that my camera already have focus bracketing or focus stacking feature. I use it for small, tiny insects. I love my bird detection because it helps me to photograph birds in action. Now it's even improved, as I did described before. It allows perfectly combinations with a flash. I use the flash for my macro and my bird photography sometimes for some experiments, and it supports the flash photography as well. It allows me to use internal ND filter with no need to have a special ND filter along with me. It supports star focusing. So if you are photographing at night, you don't need to use any techniques to focus on a distant subject or something. Just simply focus on your camera. It is included in your camera. My camera, again, it has live composition. If you read live composition features, say, okay, for me, it's a great tool for making more crazy pictures in a storm like this stork nest in a Pantanal. It has Pro Capture. Pro Capture is great feature which can achieve or help you to achieve the pictures before you fully press the button, the shutter button. And these are unexpected moments or expected moments in unexpected situations or time frame. So you can achieve something like that the marine iguanas is sneezing the salt for its nostrils. It's very easy to record on a video, but it's very hard to photograph because it's a very unexpected moment. So this helped me to achieve these pictures. It also supports multi-flash cameras. So if I have a remote cameras, I can photograph bats, hummingbirds, anything. It's almost waterproof. It's not waterproof, but it's very, very resistant against the water. So for me, for a person who's traveling to the tropics, it's very essential. It has extremely strong stabilization, and again, it doesn't only means that you can photograph your birds from the distance and you are not shaking your hands. You can also use your handheld long lens for nice and new way of using your camera. It supports high resolution photographs up to 80 megapixels. It supports HDR, and it supports time lapse. I use time lapse not for making videos so far, but I'm using time lapse as a camera trap. Sometimes I place my camera somewhere, hide it, and let the camera photograph. Now it has almost 10,000 frames I can get. So it's amazing tool for me to leave the camera somewhere and let the camera photograph something special. I don't feel I have any limitation for my photographic creations. I won a lot of most prestigious competitions in the world, which are dedicated for wildlife photographers, and nobody told me that my 20 megapixel M43 sensor is too low to be successful in these competitions. Not at all in America, in Europe, anywhere. So I'm not struggling with low resolution. So low resolution sensor, it's perfect for my purposes and for what I try to achieve. So I would say the last word, the only limit is our imagination, not our equipment. At this moment, the equipment knows more than we are able to find.
I absolutely agree, Peter. Thank you so much for this, especially for this last thing. The only limit is our imagination. And I would also add is our, let's say, capabilities, because I have many experiences, whether it was with you, with Rostislav Stak, and other professional photographers, where we were in exactly the same situation, standing next to each other, having the same equipment in our hands, shooting the same subject, and I was simply not capable of achieving the same results as you were or the other photographers were, the professional ones, because I simply do not have that, let's say, practical knowledge as you do, that experience, that practical experience. And also, and that's one of the things which we are just saying here, and that's the imagination, because you need to, or I know that you, for example, you sometimes visualize the images even before you travel to the other place of the world. Because so you are traveling to Borneo or to wherever else, and you already have the image in your head somehow. And once you travel there, once you are there, you are trying to achieve it. But the vision of the image is, I think, something that not many of us have. Obviously, we'll look at many images of professionals, whether it's you or other professional photographers worldwide. You would like to, let's say, copy them, because always you learn by copying professionals, right? So why not? But achieving the final result, the same quality, is not that easy, actually. Is there any recommendation from your side how to achieve the qualities as you or other professional photographers have?
No problem. Just do it all the time, all the way. Keep your toys and learn how to focus on small stuff. Keep your lizards, plastic lizards. If you find hornets, just keep them for trying some focus stacking or something, and try it at home. Because if you are in a field, you are just using the knowledges you get from your home. So at this moment in my home, there are maybe 20 plastic toys, which helps me to learn how it works. I try everything on here in my living room. Then I go outside and try this knowledge applicate in a field, because it's always different, because you don't have the comfort, you don't have the temperature. Sometimes it's raining, so you have to deal with different stuff than just the technical stuff. You have to learn how to wear yourself or dress yourself for getting out. So these are small steps to make it automated by your brain, and you don't need to think about them once you are in a field. But of course, it's sometimes hard, even for me. Of course, I'm not any superhero, so it's very sometimes hard to get out if it's not nice and warm. But it works. It works to train yourself at home.
So first thing is to visit the toy store, buy these stuff, these tiny toys, and then try.
Very important. I have great frogs, new frogs here, which are very, very natural looking. So it's great to train, for example, my flash diffuser, if it reflects well or not. And so this is how I learn it. Very simple.
Okay, Peter, so I'm just trying to go through some of the questions, because there were many, but there were many answered by all of you. Thank you guys for that. But let me see. Yeah, so the last one we answered was that I got EM10 Mark III. Is that good? Okay, so let me see some other questions. We already answered this one. Let's see. I'm looking for question marks. Anthony's asking, what's the question? OM-300 2.8 IS Pro with teleconverter 1.25. How much would such a lens cost if OM System brought one out? Anthony, you are, let's say, very creative, it seems, because you have many good, nice ideas. I mean, obviously, we would all love to see 300mm 2.8 with teleconverter 125. I have no idea what the price would be, but let's store these ideas, and we are always sending this kind of end user ideas to our R&D development. And obviously, that does not mean that this lens will be produced, because obviously it needs to be, or many other people would need to, let's say, want to have such lens. But thank you for all these ideas that you are putting in. Jess has another point. I washed my OM-1 with 825 under the tap after it was dipped in salt water. Good, yeah. I mean, this is exactly what I would probably. Maybe I would. Yeah, because if you drop your cameras or your equipment in salt water, then the salt is the worst thing. Even our TAF series, even our TG previously 6, now we have a new one, TG7 camera. When I use it at the sea, when I'm snorkeling, or swimming in the sea and using the camera, and then I come back to the hotel, the first thing I do, I put the TG7 camera into the sink and put water on it, and I leave it there for a couple of minutes, in a regular water, so that the salt actually dissolves and disappears. So I would do the same. Yeah, great idea. Okay, let's find another question. Is it? It's a nice question, Peter. I know you love those. Is it worth going for the OM-1 Mark II?
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
It all depends from where you are going and what you are expecting. After this lecture, and after, I guess, you've seen many lectures and reviews, the opinion is on you. But my recommendation is, just imagine what would you like to achieve with a new camera. Go to your store once they will have it on the market, and try it by yourself and decide based on your experiences. Because everything I try to explain and describe is based on my experiences in my territory, in my rainforest, with all the lovely creatures. But you have a different expectation. Go to the store, try it for 1-2 days, and decide based on your experiences. This is the best way how to make it.
Yeah. And also, what I would recommend, or actually, at least this is the way how it works very well for end users here in Czech Republic, for example. Peter knows about it. That is, first of all, as Peter said, go to the store for some test day, touch and try day, try there, but then also go to some workshop where the camera will be available for testing for a couple of hours in the environment that you are normally using it in. So, for example, here we do quite a couple of workshops, wildlife or birding workshops, So find one workshop near you somewhere where the camera is available, or where the ambassador of OM System will be available with the camera. And I think this is the best way how to make your own decision, make your own opinion about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, Deborah, I switched from Nikon to OM. Love the OM system, but one thing I miss from my Nikon is the number of shots for multiple exposure. Could do 10 in Nikon and limited to 2 in OM. Do you use multiple exposures, Peter, actually?
Not often, because I try it with a moon, for example. I try to combine the moon and the iguana on the branch.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it was first time I ever try it, and the result is not great because the iguana disappeared. So I have a great moon placed over a nice branch with some spikes of iguanas, but not as great as it was placed. I do not use it often, so I just read again.
But basically, for this type of images that you are describing, you can very easily use our live composite mode, right?
So, no, it's not possible. It's not possible because you need, for example, if you wish to have a bigger moon, so you photograph the moon with 400 millimeters, then you zoom out and you photograph the rest with a huge moon in frame.
Right, yeah.
So this is the way. What I like on this feature, but I didn't try it much often. So what I like is that you can photograph the moon, for example, and combine to any picture from your card. So you can choose the picture which you would like to combine. So if you photograph the moon as a base picture, and then you try the other pictures, so you can combine it with just the one moon you photographed before. I don't know how Nikon works in this way because I don't use it much, but I can expect that this can be useful for matching more than just two afterwards going pictures. You can combine with a different picture from your card.
Okay, let's see another question. How is the IQ of 150 to 400 versus 150 to 600? I assume 150 to 400, the white Gandalf, as we call it, is better. But how much better? Again,
it's better 27.5%. I don't know. It's better in.
I would say 36.3.
Oh, maybe. No. So be serious, Thomas. I'm a serious guy, so people are expecting we both are serious. But yes, if you compare both lenses, you will notice that the sharpness of new lens 150, 600 is very close to the white one. Also, what you notice, the white one is really pro lens with several advantages, starting with aperture. You will notice the difference in a darker situations, so it will be advantage of white lens. If you will zoom out with the new lens, you will find it will prolong its length, so it makes a different balance in your hand. Again, if you have the white one, you will not notice any focal length differences in your hands. It has a white one has longer tripod stand. So if you are photographing from your hands, handheld, you will feel it more comfortable after 1 hour photographing than with a new lens. These small differences are really in advance of white lens, which is, from my point of view, the best wildlife photography lens ever made for handheld wildlife photography. Everything is accessible from your holding the lens. You have accessible all the switches, all the rings. Everything is perfect. It's lightweight and it's sharp. It's fast. It allows you to photograph with a close distance. So it's perfect lens, and this is the reason why it's so pricey. But if you don't have enough money for this white one, I would recommend to try and maybe even buy the new one, the new lens, because it has a lot of advantages to the other lens in the line so far. So it's great lens. 150, 600 is great, but it's not the same or equal to the white one.
Yeah, and again, as you said, it depends on what you want to use it for.
Yeah.
What you want to use it for. Obviously, the focal length is longer with 150 to 600. Price is much cheaper compared to the white one. But yeah, again, the white one, as Peter just described, has some other advantages. So it's two totally different lenses.
If you will be in a darker areas, in a rainforest, you will be happy with white lens because you will love that you have 4.5 aperture. If you will have another lens from other company, 2.8, you will be even happier in terms of the shutter speed and ISO, but you will not be happy with the size, I guess. And again, if you are photographing in open areas, which means wetlands and meadows and something like this, the new lens is perfect. If you are going to photograph more in dark areas, in the forest, you will struggle with high ISO, slower shutter speed, and this necessary deals which you have to face in the forest.
Absolutely. Let's answer a few more questions because there are too many, and we are already 1 hour 47 minutes. We are sorry for this, guys, but I mean, if we do Czech streams, it usually is from 1.5 hours to 2 hours, so it's quite normal. But I know that, or I was told that if it's English-speaking stream, it shouldn't be that long. So sorry for that. One question which I will answer very quickly. If I missed. Could you please tell me where the PDF you mentioned is available? Yes, it is right here, sulasula.com. Please visit sulasula.com, which is Peter's webpage, and you will find
an English version of the page. Yeah.
Yeah, in the English version. Yeah, obviously, go to see the English version of it. And okay, I'm just scrolling down because there are really too many questions and talk. Let's see if there are a few more. Yes, previous multiple exposure. It looks like you are guys amazing because you are really helping each other. You know, somebody asks something and somebody else replies and answers. Okay, a question I have: EM1 Mark II. How much of a jump will the OM-1 Mark II be? I know how much will it be, but I will leave it to you, Pete.
6.5%.
No, be serious.
Really huge. It's EM1 Mark II.
EM1 Mark II.
Yeah,
this is the camera you started on with Olympus in 2016. So it's quite a long time ago already.
So it's a great jump. So if you have money, buy a new camera. It really is. I cannot say how big step forward is from OM1 users. Everybody has to decide. But from EM1 Mark II to OM1 Mark II, absolutely easy. Just buy it. It's a huge
Yeah.
step.
This is what I always call revolution compared to evolution, because
Exactly.
when we switched from Olympus EM1 Mark II, Mark III, EM1X cameras to OM1 2 years ago, it was a great revolution because we have changed just about everything on the camera. All the hardware was new processor, new sensor, basically new viewfinder with amazing resolution,
Yeah.
new LCD, new battery. I mean, totally new firmware, artificial intelligence tracking and all this kind of stuff. More than 1,000 focusing points, all cross points. I mean, everything from the scratch has been changed from EM1 Mark II, 3, and X cameras to the OM1. So it was a totally, obviously the stacked sensor, which brought a new image quality compared to the previous cameras. So it was a revolution. Now it is an evolution from OM1 Mark I, the first one 2 years ago, to OM1 Mark II. It is a great evolution, or evolution, sorry, I don't know how you pronounce it properly in English. But still, it has many amazing evolutionary features, which many people will find very interesting and useful, as Peter just described today. So what do you think? I mean, am I right or am I not? Evolution versus revolution in these cameras?
Yes, for my part, absolutely. If you are jumping from EM1 Mark II to OM1 Mark II, there is no reason not to jump. If you have OM1 first generation and consider the second generation, just look again in this video or other videos, depends on you, and decide if you will use the advantage of the new camera. It's not deal breaker. There is nothing you really need to have. But after you will use it, you will recognize the difference. You will find the difference. And I can guarantee if you will use it properly with the combination of all the new stuff, you will feel it in every picture. But it's a smaller step forward, very important, but smaller than from EM1 Mark II. It's jump, not just a step.
Yeah. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. No, sorry. Sorry for that. Okay, let's have this as a last questions. Maybe I'll just go quickly through some later. But Tony, what flash diffuser do you use for macro photography?
I have four types of diffusers. One of my favorite is Sinus-Tech or Cygnus-Tech. You know Brendan from Australia, which distributes great diffusers, and he's also the photographer with Olympus or OM-SYSTEM. But I use a few different shapes and sizes of diffusers because I photograph not just the small macro like this. You don't see the picture, sorry. Like the small insects, but I also photograph the snakes, lizards, frogs. I try to use different angles of light as well as my camera. And sometimes I need really huge diffuser comparing to the Brendan ones. So I made myself diffusers to help me photograph all the different shapes and sizes. So if you wish just one, I would recommend the Brendans. It's perfect. If you have on camera, it's great. But I use the flash in many ways, and I have a different shapes and sizes of the diffusers for off-camera flashes.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Peter, for your reply. I still think we should end the presentation. You know why? Because we haven't actually ended the presentation yet, but many people are already thanking you for the presentation. So, Steve, a very good presentation. Thank you. Andy writes, many thanks, Peter. Great information. Tony, yes, excellent presentation. Lots of good advice. So, I mean, it's all for you, Peter. Thanks, Peter, for sharing your expertise. So, I mean, again, here, Linda, thank you for the presentation. I'm looking forward to watch it in its entirety because Linda was probably a little bit late. So, yeah, I mean, many great advices from you today, Peter. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for watching. It's almost 2 hours long. We are sorry for that. We were actually told it should be shorter as we are speaking in English language. Sorry, but we are just used to talk too much, maybe. So sorry for that. Peter, thank you so much again. It was a great presentation.
Thank you.
If you want to read Peter's first impressions, not just hear it from the YouTube, but read it, go to surasura.com, as you can see it here on the button. This is Peter's webpage. Just click on the English flag over there, and you will see the presentation of not only the OM-1 Mark II camera, but also the lens, which Peter tested, also the 150-600. We didn't talk about it too much today, but just, as I say, go to surasura.com or read the review, and you will see. And please, not only read and listen to all those presentations, try for yourself. You have heard it many times today from Peter, from me. If you don't make your own decision and you just listen to others, then you may end up unhappy or not really happy with what you bought, with your equipment. First, try it for yourself in your environment. So go to your local photo store, go to your workshops or local workshops, find your local ambassador if there is some in your country. And I think this is the best way how to make your own decision. Don't let other people decide.
Absolutely.
Peter, thanks a lot again. Thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Have a nice day.
Thank you for your patience, guys. Thank you very much that you enjoy this session, and I will be looking forward for next time.
Of course. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye.